Hello, peoples of the internet world. Today I have Roscoe in here again holding some love and space, and I have Evie in here holding some love and space. She's saying hello right there with a big old grunt. Today I thought I would talk about the Tantrum Program. And the Tantrum Program is a fairly recent release that came up probably in February of this year. And I was working with quite a few families that were having teens that were getting pretty out of control. They weren't listening, they weren't coming home, they were just, going and doing whatever they wanted. They're going out, getting very violent, coming home whenever they want, some of them not coming home, and just generally not following rules. And I've been working with the moms. And as we were working together, I was kind of asking the God source, like, what is going on here? And the God source told me, it's the Tantrum Program. These kids are tantruming. And I was like, what do you mean? And the God source said, well, these children, when they were younger, their parents weren't able to hold the space of a no. And because the parents weren't able to hold the space of the no, the children actually never learned to hold the space of a no. And now what you're seeing is the Tantrum Program. And the God source said, basically all of us have taken part in this Tantrum Program. Because in the past, our parents weren't able to regulate themselves. And if you're not able to regulate yourself, then you're going to be part of the tantruming program. And so typically when someone tantrums, it puts the other person into a dysregulation. And when they go into a dysregulation, they either try to control out with force or violence, or they try to control in with puddling, crying. And controlling out, they're taking the power. Controlling in, they're giving away their power. So it's also animalistic in nature. And so if an animal is getting aggressive, then the other animal will either over-aggress it or under-aggress it, as in turning on one's belly, or over-aggressing, and that creates a calmness in the animal. And that's basically the way that we've been functioning as a human collective. So what has occurred is the child, when a mother says no, the child reacts with anger, with tantrum, crying, etc. And a lot of parents can't handle that space, and so they don't stick with a no. Instead, they either entitle them, they let them get away with it, or they abuse or violate them. And neither of them are going to work. Both of them create the Tantrum Program. So not only did we experience that in our own childhoods, where we were either aggressed or the person didn't stick with the no. My voice is a bit funky today, but it's not going to stop me. So the key of a Tantrum Program is to be able to say no and hold the no and give the other person the permission to feel whatever feeling states they do. So if you say no to someone and they're angry or upset or sad, they have a right to feeling angry, upset, and sad. It's not your job to fix their feeling state. It's their job to fix their feeling state. It's their job to calm and soothe themselves. It's their job to complete that feeling state, and they come back around to calm, peace, and presence. And so oftentimes what they say about tantruming is that when someone tantrums, you should just walk away. Because if you're not present, then the tantrum will stop, because if there's no one there, it'll just work its way out and the person will complete. Now, oftentimes, if a parent walked away because we didn't have the ability to self-regulate or to look down into ourselves and clear our own feeling states, saying something to yourself like, I'm safe even here, I'm whole even here, it's okay that they're feeling, I have a right to say no. That's like owning our role. So as mothers, the sacred mother says no and sticks with the no. And so the God source was showing me that when we can't do that, when we dysregulate ourselves and we either go into one of the two modes of aggression, violation, or shutting down, and in both cases saying, when you stop that, I'll stop this. I can't stop what I'm doing until you stop this. And that's codependency. And the reality is, we don't have to do that. We can stay in a regulated state while the other person completes what they do. And I know how hard this is, because it's even hard for me still when somebody goes into a dysregulated anger, rage, violent state. Sadness is much easier for me to hold a state for, because one of my natural states to go into is sadness. But rage and anger and violence is a lot more difficult for me to hold the space of. And I have to step back and I have to really soothe myself, and I have to tell myself, like, this isn't mine. I don't have to do anything about this. This is theirs. They're a separate being. They're over there having their own experience. I'm just going to hold loving space for myself while they complete whatever they complete. It's not my job to fix, save, or heal it. It's not my job to talk them into anything. It's my job to align with my truth. And if my truth is saying no, then it's a no. The other thing the God source was telling me about the no is that the humans have been stagnated in our growth processes because we haven't held the space of a no. And so it was showing me that the toxic patriarchy, the slavery matrix, is tantruming. It's based off a foundation of tantruming. So what it was showing me is that wars are a tantrum, right? That all of the Epstein stuff, tantrums. They're saying, I'll do what I want to. I'll take what I want to. I'll steal what I want to. They cannot take an external no or an internal no. But the God source said, and it was showing me scientists as well. So it was showing me things like nuclear reactors. And it was saying that they came up with this idea. They said, no, something terrible could happen here. There's a 2% chance. I think it's a 1-point-something% chance that terrible things can happen and it'll kill mass amounts of people and parts of the earth. That right there is a no. That's a no. But instead of taking the no, they tantrumed and they did it anyways. Evie doesn't like that either. And then they built them anyways. And now we're paying massive repercussions for the building of these nuclear reactors. Fukushima is a good example. And there's a documentary on the Fukushima disaster and how when they built it, they did it, because it was the industrial era and they needed a lot more power and everything was growing so quickly. And it was the cheapest version of creating power for mass amounts of people. And they thought it was beautiful and wonderful and awesome until it broke down. And when it broke down, they realized they didn't have any answers. They didn't know how to undo what's been done. And they still don't know how to undo what's been done. They're just, containing the toxicity. They don't know how to deplete it or clear it or get rid of it. That's a hard no. No. right? But instead, the tantrum occurred and they built it anyway. The government right now is hard tantruming. Why? His mother didn't hold the space of a no when he was a child, or his father for that matter, but in that era, it was the mother's mothering. The mother wasn't able to hold the space of a no. She toxically mothered. She either puddled or she got aggressive and violent. And in the case of the president, she puddled. And you can see that for how the way he is. He's entitled. He thinks he can do whatever the heck he wants. He's throwing tantrums all the time. And when an adult human throws a tantrum, which is toxic partners, narcissists, psychopaths, sociopaths, even people that just don't function well in general, power mongers, when they throw a tantrum, it puts the other person into dysregulation. And when they go into dysregulation, they go into what I call a flashing state. They sit back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. They can't get the ground underneath of them. And they dysregulate like we saw our parents do, right? Like we saw our discipliners do, right? We go into dysregulated states and then react from fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And we need to learn to regulate so that we can access our own truth. And so if you see someone dysregulating outside of you, if you see someone tantruming, an adult tantruming, and especially for a female, it's terrifying when an adult male is tantruming, we have to be able to regulate ourselves. We have to be able to access our own truth, because from our own truth, we'll get the answer. We'll get a creative answer. And the creative answer might be run, get out of there. Don't stay there. Walk away. Don't go back. Right? In more severe cases, call 911, right? Your regulated state, your creativity will tell you what to do next, because that's your soul alignment. And your soul alignment is reading the frequencies, but it's also got access to some past, present, and future. It's got a bigger state of presence than we do. It's able to know things in a broader range than we do, and it'll guide us right if we can access it. But if we're dysregulated, we aren't going to be able to access it. We're just going to access the old programs of the human being, what we've been taught to do in these states. And some of those things for me, I know that when I would get dysregulated, I'd start to numb out, dissociate. I would have nervous laughter. I would coddle. I would fawn. I would do whatever I had to do to try to make them feel better so that I could feel better, so that I could feel safe. What I didn't do was walk away. What I didn't do is say no and walk away. I didn't say to myself, this isn't mine. I don't have to tend to this. I don't have to deal with this. This isn't my stuff. This isn't my energy. I have a right to a no. I have a right to walking away. I have a right to loving myself even here. I have a right to giving myself safety even here and accessing my creativity. And I'm even practicing that today when I face aggression. Even so much so that the God Source told me that you don't even have to answer them. You don't have to even speak back to them. But we're taught as humans to be nice. Oh, you have to be nice. People please. It's not nice not to answer. Actually, I cannot answer. I can literally just walk away and not even engage it, not even answer, not even say a thing, because it's not my job to teach them how to be a decent human being. It's not my job to teach them why I shouldn't be abused. It's my job to get the heck away from there. And then to make a choice with the information, like don't go back, or that's a 20-minute friend, or as soon as I feel unsafe, I got to go. It's not my job to talk them into something. It's not my job to regulate them. It's not my job to soothe them. It's my job to regulate and soothe myself and make choices from that space. It's our job to say no, and it's our job to stick with a no. And when we're able to stick with a no, then we're able to find creative solutions. Because if there's a no, guaranteed there's yeses, but that's not the yes. So with power, nuclear power is a no. What are the yeses? We have to creatively hold our heads together and come up with yeses. Obviously, free energy would be a good yes, Or green energy, real true green energy, solar energy, air energy, things like that. Those are more a yes, but even those we need to really hold the space for. Is that a yes or a no? But we can't get creative until we hold the no all the way through it until we get to the other side of a yes. So it was telling me we have the same program inside of ourselves. We have that same program inside of ourselves. So we have this little guy inside of us, it's the program self. Right? It's the part of us that's been programmed. It's the part of us that's in the human that's had the living experiences. It's the part of us that has been separated, hurt, broken. And then we have a second part to ourselves, and that part is our soul. It's our higher self. It's our guardian angel in our belly. And that second part of us is already in alignment. It's sacred, it's divine. It's already in alignment. So when that part speaks to us, it's speaking to us from our highest path in alignment. And so we want to listen to the highest part, right? It tells us no all the time. That highest part is like, no, don't spend that money. It says, no, don't do the gambling. No, don't use the drugs and alcohol. And then you have the broken, separated program self that says, if you love yourself, you'll give it to you. And that's a program. That's a program. That's called the toxic distraction. It's trying to encourage you into toxic distraction because in the past, we were comforted by toxic distraction. And so our ancestral lineage, that's how they coped in the slavery matrix. And so that's what they've passed down through the lineage is the way to cope. But that's a lie. It's an illusion. It's a delusion. And we have to begin to prioritize and listen to that higher self, the soul, the angelic self that's saying, no, that's not going to help your program. That's not going to help you get where you're going. That's not going to help you to achieve your golden timelines, right? So when that little guy comes up and he says, and you say, no, I need to go to the gym. And it says, oh, you don't have to go to the gym. You don't have to go. And he's creating an internal tantrum because this saying no, and he's saying, I'll do what I want to. And that's what happens also in this world. So when someone tells you no, if you don't soothe yourself and come into wholeness and check into your own answer and see what your answer is, automatically in the slavery matrix, what we learn to do is rebel. So if you don't go along with it, which a lot of people do, so a lot of people just would go along with whatever somebody says to them, right? But people who didn't just go along with it rebelled. And rebelling isn't freedom either. Going along with it because somebody told you to isn't freedom. Asking your own self and getting into your own center of self is the way to go. So if someone tells me no, then I need to regulate my own self and then ask for my own truth. I need to ask for my own center of self, what's my truth? And then I need to support my own self in my own truth. But first I need to regulate that no, because that tends to dysregulate us. When somebody else tells us no, it's a dysregulating experience. I don't love a no either. I don't love it when somebody tells me no, right? And my old program is to rebel, right? But I had to see that rebelling is just part of the slavery matrix. You're not out of the matrix if you're rebelling. You're out of the matrix if you're in your center of self, safe and in a state of love and making a conscious decision. Conscious choice is the key. That's a choice from alignment. Rebellion comes from separation, and it's just the opposing. And a lot of times in this world, when we did rebellious choices, we would think, how did I get here? Why did I do that? This isn't me either. So if your option when you're young is to be a good girl, then the rebellion's to be a bad girl. And when you go into your truth, you realize, I'm not a bad girl. Why am I being a bad girl? And the idea of a bad girl in our world is all different kinds of things, right? And that's what these kids were doing. That's what these kids in the homes were doing. They were rebelling against the control. And the parental figure was dysregulating. So the parental figure wasn't able to choose from consciousness, stay regulated, and speak from their center of self or from their truth. So the children were rebelling. And oftentimes the kids are taking the control. Especially if you're puddling, if you're turning on your belly. Please don't do that. Oh no, please. A person who's in their own control doesn't beg. They say, that's inappropriate. That's a no, and that's inappropriate. And if you follow through that, there's going to be consequences. And in a lot of cases, there's going to be natural consequences. And inside themselves, they're saying, I have a right to say no. And I can hold this space from love of myself first and foremost, and then love of them secondarily. And then we act from love. It's okay that you're upset. It's okay that you're crying. It's okay that you're angry. When people say no, people get angry. That's okay. And when you calm down, we can find a yes. This is a no, but I'm sure there's a yes. We can find a middle place. We can come together. And with little kids, that's a no. I know it's uncomfortable. I know it hurts. I know you're angry. It's okay to be angry. When you're done, then we'll carry on. Then we'll go do the thing. Now you're teaching them to soothe themselves even in a no. And I'm an adult soothing myself even in a no. Right? And now inside of myself, those two parts of me, that broken part's going to try to rebel. And we've been taught to listen to the broken part, to the separated part. And when it rebels against the angelic aspect or against the divine aspect of myself, I'm rebelling against myself to the detriment of myself. And I need to be able to collapse that internal program first so that I can begin to hold the external program with greater ease and grace. And if we want things like war and violence and just the disgusting things of this earth plane to come to an end, violation, then we have to be able to say no. We have to hold the space of a no. And we have to be able to walk away. Set boundaries, walk away. Inside ourselves, boundaries are something we set inside ourselves. I'm not going back there, right? Setting a boundary with someone else is you teaching them. And in most cases, it's not your job to teach them. It's your job to listen to your own self and then listen to the information and then make your choices based off that information. And even though it's uncomfortable when we say no, because this thing out here goes crazy, it starts to dysregulate itself. It goes into anger and rage and violence. We still have to hold the no. We have to hold the no, and we have to walk away, set the boundaries, get creative. And when we say no to this thing over here, we can turn this way and say yes to this thing over here. And we can stop wasting our life force frequency on this thing over here, because our life force frequency is valuable and we only have so much of it. And instead, we can start to create the other thing. We can just start to exist in a different way and create the other thing. Focus on the thing that matters. And as we do that, the God Source also told me at some point in time, these other things begin to fall away. They'll naturally fall away. They're not getting fed. They're not getting engaged with, right? And so they'll begin to fall away. And hopefully, as we hold that space of no and then access the yeses, we'll be able to find some solutions for some of the problems and issues that the humans have gotten themselves into at this point in time. Like the nuclear reactors and planet damages. Hopefully, as we hold the no and we say, no, not in my world, not in my existence, not my reality, we're not doing these old things anymore. Those are old ways of existing. They're part of an old way that's toxic, that prioritizes the humans over the animals and the plants and the planet. We're not doing that old thing. That's a power program, and we're not taking part in it anymore. We're done. No. And the people at the top of the hierarchy, and even others throughout the hierarchy, because that's how they've found their safety, are going to tantrum. And we don't have to care. We just have to say no. And we need to walk away. And it's not our job to fix them, save them, heal them. It's not our job to talk them into anything. It's our job to turn this way and start to create a new way of existing. It's our way. It's our job to find our yeses and follow our golden pathways and begin to create from our own authenticities, from the yeses inside of us that are in alignment with our soul, which is already in alignment with the planet, with the plants, the animals, the air, the earth, water, this universe. When we make a choice from our center of self, and we're in a neutral state, when we've alchemized the state that we're in, fear, panic, terror, anxiety, sadness, frustration, annoyance, even the higher frequencies. I mean, you could be in a mania, right? When we neutralize the feeling state, then we're able to access our own center of self. And our center of self will guide us right. It will guide us down an aligned path. Because when you access your soul is an aspect of the God Source. And the God Source is never going to guide you towards anything that isn't good for everything at once. Because it is everything at once. So the answers you get from that space, you can trust them because they're already in alignment. Humans are really terrible. We have an external point of reference. We're really terrible at trying to consider everybody else. That's us taking care of everybody else to the detriment of ourselves. That's codependent existence. And when you have a center point of reference out there and you're like, well, what are they going to think? What are they going to think? What do they want me to do? What do they want me to do? this is where we get pulled into everybody else's information instead of our own. And then it gets overwhelming, overstimulating. And oftentimes you'll make a choice that isn't probably never in alignment. But if you calm down, you slow down, you go inside of yourself, you love yourself even here, I'm safe even here. Yes, this is a hard choice to make, but the answer is inside of me. It's at my core. It's in my 0 point, right? That's the point inside of you. That's a midpoint between your human body, and the God source. That part of you, when you access that part, you will find your creative answer. You will find the truth from within. And that truth is in alignment. It's right for all those people you were trying to consider their truths out there. It's right for all of them inside because it's right for the universe. It's a universal choice. So that's why it's so important to awaken the feminine, to slow down. Slow down. Take a hot second, a hot minute. Access that internal self. Especially when someone's freaking out. That's one of the programs. It really pulls us into fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. That's what's ingrained in us as like a survival mechanism, is to go into fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. And whatever your ancestral lineage, whatever this body's genetic lineage did, is what you're going to do. Whatever role you tended to play in your childhood is what you are going to do. And that's a program. So the key is to slow down right there. Slow down into yourself, even if they're talking, even if they're freaking out. Don't worry about them. Worry about you. Your job is to take care of you. If you're taking care of everybody else all the time, who's taking care of you? No one. No, that's not the way it works. That's a reversal. Your job is to take care of you first. Act out of alignment for you first. And what you choose isn't just right for you, it's right for them too. And they may not like the choice you make out of alignment, which is walk away and don't even speak, but it's right for them and right for you. Now, when you walk away and you soothe yourself, they can calm themselves down and they don't do something that they're going to regret because they're in hard fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. They're not even in themselves. And actually what's coming through them is the shadow energies. Their shadow energy is coming through them. It's not even fully them. And I'll do a video on that, on shadow energies. And what happens when we go into separation and dysregulation, and then we're not in our center of self. Then pain spaces come through us. That's that shadow energy. The pain spaces come through you instead of your truth. And we need to access the truth because that's where the creativity is. That's where the alignment is. And we have to collapse this tantrum program to begin to access that. So I'm going to do that right now. So, Source God Mother, I acknowledge and accept everything that we've been speaking of so far today. And I acknowledge and accept that the humans have been functioning in the baseline of a tantrum program. And you're going to start looking around and you're going to be like, that's a tantrum. That's a tantrum. That's a tantrum. Yes, they are. Because our foundation is tantruming. Power, control, force is based off tantruming. And it's based off the guy at the top of the triangle is a tantrumer. In most cases, he's going to be a violent tantrumer. And you're going to bow down. You're going to turn on your belly because that's what you've been programmed to do. When one person's taking the power, we give our power away typically as a coping mechanism. And we think it's going to make us safe. And it does not make you safe. It makes you disconnected. And I don't want to do that anymore. I'm done. I'm done that program. I want to stay regulated in all spaces. I have a right to access regulation in all spaces. I take my power back from this fear program. It's a fear of tantruming. It's a fear of someone getting chaotic, losing control. Your job is to regulate yourself. Walk away and regulate yourself. If you can do it right there, that's awesome and amazing, because you'll see the tantrum already begin to shift. Because when you're not buying into the one side of the dynamic, the other side of the dynamic falls away. And someone needs to shift this. Someone needs to change this, or it's just going to keep repeating. Because it's been built into our mode of functioning as a culture and society, and it's been built into our bodies, and it's been built into our relational systems. And Source Mother, I collapse all of that now. I clear, cleanse, neutralize, harmonize, and alchemize all of those spaces, including those internal spaces where I've learned to tantrum inside myself. I've learned to rebel inside myself. Rebellion is a tantrum. It's another form of a tantrum. We're repeating programs instead of accessing our truth and accessing our creativity and accessing alignment and consciously choosing where we'll be supported by the universe, by the God source. And I clear all of that, including pain spaces, modes of functioning, ways of existing, toxic dynamics within, toxic dynamics without, old ways of perceiving, seeing, trigger points, contracts, binds, barriers, anchors, pain spaces in the body, because this leads to pain spaces in the body. This leads to stagnation. And when we stagnate, we create pain spaces in body and pain spaces in relationships. And I don't want to be in stagnation. I don't want to be walking on eggshells. I don't want to be in the slavery matrix program. I don't want to be doing any of that. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. No. And I clear, cleanse, and heal it from the cellular and energetic structures and from the subconscious, unconscious, and conscious minds. These are definitely heart healings, and I ask that you clear, cleanse, and heal the heart of these old modes of functioning and these old ways of existing, so that I can begin to access my heart and begin to give myself what I need. The Tantrum Program is a bypassing program. That person's bypassing their own regulation and then acting from consciousness. And we're bypassing our pain and suffering, our fear, panic, and terror. And then we usually feel guilt or shame because they're feeling bad. And that's the program. The program is to make you feel bad so that you're taking care of them to the detriment of yourself. And so that you're staying in coddling or letting go of it or not sticking with a no, so that it stagnates and stays the same. Because the only way that we stay stuck in it is when it stays the same. And I don't want that. I don't choose that. I recognize the most loving thing I can do is hold the no if it's an alignment. If it's an alignment to say the no, it's the most loving thing to do. Even if others don't like it, it's still the most loving thing to do, because if God's saying it's a no, then it's right for them too. And that's why we have to trust our own selves first. And that's why we can't trust the external realm, because everybody's walking their own pathways. So when they say no, you're going to feel betrayed and abandoned and all these things. But if it's coming from their truth, then it's right for them and it's right for you too, even if you don't like the way it feels. But we have to learn not to just, say it from power and control and from what we've been, programmed to exist, but from our actual center of selves, from our truth. And that's a process of learning to access our truth, dropping into yourself, slowing down, loving yourself even here. I'm safe even here. And I guarantee as soon as you start accessing that space, the answers will start to come to you. And then your job is to support your answers. Trust them. You can trust yourself. You can trust you'll be there with you. You'll trust you'll find the answers. You trust that you have the medicine inside. You trust that whatever the answer is from the center point of reference is the right answer for all. It's in alignment. It's in the best and highest well-being of all. Not from the head. The head it's selfish. A disconnected self is a selfish self. But from the aligned heart, from the sacred heart, from your center point of reference, that's the soul space. And we need to learn to make choices from that space. And we do that by collapsing this Tantrum Program. And Source Godmother, please help me to release the disconnection from my head to my heart. Please help me to release my disconnection from the old way of functioning is to go out first, like listen to the outside world first, tend to the outside world first. And that's a lie. That's an illusion. I collapse that old program back to dust. The key is to go inside first and then to take action. The feminine first, access the feminine first, love, compassion, safety, and then make a choice. That's how we learn to make conscious choices. Source Godmother, please help me with this new way of existing. It's our actual oldest way of existing. It's how we were born to exist, but we've had a program in the way. And the program went through the human being. And I collapse those programs back to dust so that I can access my truth, so that I can access my feminine parts of self, so that I can slow down, access my own truth and my creativity. I want that because that's how I help not only myself, but I help this universe. I help all the humans. I help the plants, animals, air, earth, water, because we're all one. And to do that, I must collapse the false triangle. I have to collapse the slavery matrix, toxic patriarchy. And I'm done that now. No. Toxic patriarchy is where the top dog attacks you and you shut down and turn on your belly. No, I'm done that now. Taking your power back means your ability to calm, soothe yourself, and access your own answers. Taking back your power means the ability to move forward freely. Power is the ability to move. It's movement. And I have a right to move. I have a right to clear all of these old modes of functioning and these old ways of existing, which were stagnation. I have a right to clear the stagnation. And as I clear the stagnation, I clear the bones, muscle, tissue, ligaments, brain, organs, heart, lungs, cellular structure. I clear it all. I neutralize, harmonize, and alchemize it back to dust. I clear, cleanse, and heal the old DNA and RNA. I disintegrate it back to dust, and I initiate the new, and I reconfigure it for each unique blueprint. I clear, cleanse, and heal all drama, karma, trauma, pulling out the dharma, neutralizing, purifying, clearing, cleansing, and healing from the cellular, energetic, and magnetic structures, and from the subconscious, unconscious, and conscious minds, pulling all of that through to oneness, to wholeness, to peace, to truth, to love. Welcoming those helper beings and helper frequencies into these spaces to continue to help me, guide me, love me, help me to access these spaces, help me to utilize them as I move forward in those good ways. I release through the children and up through the ancestral webs, past lifetimes in their webs, and for the collective universal who are open to it at this time, including all planetary systems and on all sides of the veil, including this universe and the multiverses. I quantum forgive that we did this to ourselves. I quantum forgive that we did this to each other. I quantum forgive all of the pain and frozen pain spaces. I clear them as well, God. Anything that's been stagnated in my spider back, anything that I just tucked away because it was too terrifying to look at, and I couldn't access my own truth and my own choices and my ability to say no and walk away and not engage it and not fix, save, and heal it and not talk them into calm so that I could feel calm. All of those old programs and patterns, Evie's agreeing, I clear, cleanse, and heal from my mind, body, spirit, and soul. I don't choose to hold any of those pain spaces as well. I quantum forgive I had those pain spaces. I quantum forgive that they've been affecting my body. This one's big into the immunity systems, into the cellular structure, into the bones, arthritises, migraines, headaches. You're going to get it all in this space. When we hold that trauma, when we stay stagnant, our bones are going to pay a price, right? Our bodies are going to pay a price. And I don't want that. My poor body. I quantum forgive that this has happened to our bodies. I quantum forgive that we did this in relationship. I quantum forgive that we did this to the earth. I quantum forgive that we created, nuclear reactors. That was a bad move. We acted from no, and we acted from power and control, and we acted from domination. Same as wars, same as violation, same as hoarding. All old modes of functioning, old ways of existing that thought, oh, that gets me to the top of the triangle where I'm standing on all of the gold, but I'm really standing on all of the humans that are underneath of me. Slavery matrix. Ew, gross, disgusting. No, thank you. And I don't want to be at the bottom of that matrix holding everything up while everything stands on top of me. No wonder women, particularly colored women, have the most amounts of asthma. Have the most amounts of bone issues, immunity disorders, right? They've been standing on top of us. And we thought it was loving to hold the weight. No, thank you. No. And I clear those programs from our mind, body, spirits, and souls. I clear those modes of functioning, those ways of existing, those toxic sicknesses, the bypasses. I quantum forgive, and I clear. I purify. Back to the God Source Origins. I let it go, because the truth is underneath, and I can access and begin to exist from the truth. And the truth is accessing the sacred feminine, slowing down, holding the sacred mother no, and finding the yeses through creativity and through alignment. And I want that. I choose that. Help me with that. And I welcome those healed helpers, those beings of light, those doctors, healers, and nurses in all realms of existence to continue to purify and alchemize these spaces and drop me into those original blueprints, those original codes. And yeah, babe, you like that? And I give so much gratitude and so much thankfulness to those helper beings and helper frequencies that are here with us, helping us, guiding us, loving us, holding loving space for us, nudging us. And please do nudge me. Please help me to remember this when I need it the most. Help me to slow down, to access myself. Help me to, in accessing myself, love myself into wholeness, give myself safety, and then check in from that neutral space. Is it a no or a yes? And if it's a no, hold the space of the no, because you'll find the yes. Together, you'll find a yes, right? God, please help us with this. We need help with this. We clear, cleanse, and heal all of that now through all quantum fields, and we're open to receive for best and highest well-being. With love and gratitude, I choose this. So I choose this and breathe. And Source God Mother, I ask that you immediately evolute our systems for best and highest well-being of the systems within us and the systems around us, including those frequencies of our feet. I ask that you immediately evolute those frequencies of my feet so that as I ground down into the insides of my feet, I have all the knowledge, wisdom, healing codes, and, relaxation that I need to begin to access my internal self, my center point of reference, my center of self, my neutral space, right? And I get to neutral by love and safety, right? And then I access creativity, right? I also ask that you root me into this universe and into the multiverses, so that I can exchange life force frequency, information, knowledge, wisdom codes with my family, with nature, with all of that around me. I'm a part of that system, and please root me into that system and fractalize those healing codes through my mind, body, spirit, and soul. I clear, cleanse, and heal all of that now through all quantum fields, and I'm opening to receive for best and highest well-being. With the most ultimate of love and gratitude, I choose this. So I choose this and breathe. So pay attention to how that feels to do the clearing, to do the release, to do the healings. If you're lightheaded, ask the God Source, ask your higher self, ground me to my feet. You can straight out ask, trigger my vagus nerve now. And you should feel, ooh, that rush of relaxation, that feminine nerve, the love and the compassion of your body for your body. And that vagus nerve is down in the feminine body. And so it automatically brings that rush of oxytocin, that internal hug. And let me know how this information sits for you, with you, what you think about it. Let me know what else you would like to have information on, and practice this. Practice even seeing the Tantrum Program, right? Seeing the Tantrum Program is the first bit of healing it, shifting it, doing something different, doing something new, right? There's like a saying that you have to put a stick in the spoke and it stops the wheel. And that's how we stop old programs. That's how we stop internal run programs. We have to put a spoke in it. We have to stop, and we have to put a stick in the spoke. I think it's called spokes. It sounds weird when I say it out loud. Right? That's how we change the program. And Source God Mother, just fill us up with love. Fill us up with hope and joy. Help us to know that we can even enjoy this. We can even enjoy breaking programs. This is soul work. This is God source work. This is universal work. This is ancestral work. And you should be so proud of yourself that you're even doing this work, that you even care, that you even made it to this part of the video, which means you cared enough to try to shift, change, and alter yourself. And that's honorable work. It's not easy. It's hard to face shadows, to look at new ways of seeing and being in this world, and to practice that. And it's important, especially in this time period. And that's why I'm sharing it, because it's been helping me to change. It's been helping others to change. And I want to give it out to the collective so that as a human species, we can begin to shift ourselves so that we can begin to act from conscious alignment, which then helps not only ourselves and our ancestral lineages, but it also helps the planet. It also helps the universe. It helps the God source. And that's part of my purpose, is to pull in information that helps me and that helps my ancestral lineage, that usually is collective healings, that then if I share out or I teach to others, then they also shift, change, and alter. So I'm a vessel for the God source to access you, and the God source wants you to have this information, right? Because it's coming through me to try to shift this existence, because when it heals itself, it gets healed, and it loves that, right? Just like if you have a cut and you give it love, you say, oh, sorry, body, sorry, cut. I'm just going to clean you up and I'm going to give you love. Then it's going to heal itself. Why do you want it healed? Well, because it's stagnating, because something happened there, right? It's debris. It's a thorn in the side. It's affecting my wholeness, right? That's why we do the work. So practice, 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 right? And be proud. Be proud of yourself. And if you felt a punch through this, a punch is necessary. A punch to the gut. It's like, oof, yeah, that's me. Okay, and you're still alive. You can change this. We can change this as a human collective. It'll all be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end. We're okay. We're all right. We're not alone in this. This is a magical time period where we're going to do all kinds of shift and changing, and we're going to create a golden existence in front of us. That's also foreseen. That's foreseen that when we all choose that green path, we all begin to create a golden existence. We came through the time period of the slavery matrix of power, control, and force, and that we're coming into a time period of freedom. All is one, aligned existing, conscious existing. And we're going to create all kinds of magic in front of us, friends. As people are terrified at this point in time, our planet, like we're effed, we're fucked. No, we're not. We're not actually. We just haven't accessed the whole rainbow. We've only been looking through that peephole at that one dark part of the rainbow. We have tons of potential. We have tons of choices. We have tons of creativity. Can we do this? Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can. We're just starting to access that upper part of the rainbow where we don't have to wait. We can just do it right now. I don't have to wait for the permission to act from consciousness. I'm just going to do it right now. I don't have to wait for someone to say that I can create this free energy. I'm just going to do it right now. Yeah, let's do this, humans. So lots of love from me. Have a beautiful day, night, evening, whatever you're in right now. May your space be beautiful. And I'll see you later. Take care. Lots of love.